89.9 The Light, Lucy and Kel for breakfast. We have been talking about fuel prices and petrol every day the last few days because everybody's feeling the pinch and it seems like it's just going from bad to worse. We know fuel prices are rising. We know we're hearing wind of perhaps fuel caps. We don't really quite understand it. I'm a bit stressed by it, so we thought we'd get someone who actually knows what they're talking about. We're joined by an expert, a leading expert from Swinburne University of Technology, Professor Hussein Dia. He specialises in smart cities, fuel, transport trends. He helps governments future forecast. So I thought we should go straight to someone who knows a lot more than we do. Thank you for joining us, Professor.
Thank you.
So first of all, it is a concerning time. We're all a little bit worried. Should we be worried that it's, well, not worried, but should we be prepared that it could potentially get a little bit worse over the coming weeks?
I think the bottom line is that there is no need to panic. So fuel prices are rising because of the tensions in the Middle East, and not because the supply is collapsing. So in the short term, we might feel the cost pressures, but the supply of oil seems to be stable. And I think this is a good wake-up call. Longer term, the solution is really to reduce our reliance on these imported fuels, by more electrification and more efficient transport and so forth.
Yes.
When fuel prices and unrest overseas become the conversation, I know a lot of us jump straight to YouTube and try to become experts overnight. But yes, I think that's a great place to start. Because a lot of us would see initial reports coming out from the other side of the world, and then all of a sudden petrol prices go straight up automatically. But you're saying it's not so much there's a lack of fuel, it's more that we as a society and the world becomes a little bit unsure about the future and things start to get a little bit topsy-turvy.
Exactly. And I think we have some examples from Victoria and from Australia. Apparently, over the past few weeks, the demand for oil and for petrol and diesel rose by 300 to 400%. So you can imagine a petrol station. They would get their supply to last a week, for example, and then it would disappear in 2 days, and then people would go and find there is no petrol. So the demand has risen. There is some panic buying in the system. And as you mentioned, it's just that people, are worried about, what happens in the future. Do I need to, fill my car every day? And do I need even to, have reserves in my house? Which is, I think, this actually makes things worse rather than make them better.
It's like, it's the COVID toilet paper situation all over again, but at a much different level and maybe a little bit more of a dramatic level. So I love that your angle is don't panic. What are practical ways people can respond then at the moment as we kind of wait to see what's going to happen over the next week or so?
So very good. So, buy only what you need for your vehicle. And then for people who are people who are in the market to buy a new car, look at electric vehicles instead. I know recently the car dealers in Australia have witnessed a sharp increase in demand for electric vehicles. So that's good. There are other simple things, as drivers and as, households we can do. For example, driving more smoothly, avoiding sharp accelerations and sharp decelerations, reducing our speeds when we are traveling, trip planning. So instead of doing 3 separate trips to the shops to buy A, B, and C, just a little bit of planning to do it all together. And then travel choices. So catching public transport and trams, for example, is very good because they're all electric and they don't rely on petrol. Work patterns, if we all can work a few days from home, that can actually also reduce the amount of fuel we spend.
I love it.
Love catching up with you, Hussein, and I thank you for the tendency to talk about no one needs to panic. We're all in this together.
It's good.
We're going to get through this together as a team. But I would like, because of your expertise and because of the amount of information you're processing each and every day when it comes to this, I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Not a prediction, but more of just your idea of where we might be headed into the future as a country. Because at moments like this, we we start to realize what we have a lot of, what we don't have a lot of, where our resources is at, where we get our resources from. Do you think the future leans more towards more reliance on processing our own fuel? Do you think we lean more towards electric cars? Where do you think the future is headed?
Exactly. So at the moment, we import roughly 80 to 90% of the liquid fuel we use. And as we see today, that reliance has these implications. And really, the one of the best options is to wean ourselves of that. And China has done this very successfully. It was intentional and planned over years. And in Australia, I think the best option is to electrify. I know at the moment we burn coal to produce electricity, but increasingly we are having more renewables. When you think about it, electricity becomes cheaper to generate. It is within our control. We don't need to import it. And importantly, it's better for the environment.
Yeah.
So whether it is electrifying our industries, electrifying our transport, we're doing well with public transport like trains and trams, but we're not doing well with buses. Buses are still diesel in the majority. We're seeing increasingly electric buses. We're seeing increasingly electric vehicles. We started from behind, compared to other nations, but I think this is the direction we should be traveling in. I know some people are saying, how about we increase the production of our own oil? But I think this is actually going against the decarbonization trend. Electrification, I think, would be the best option for us.
Yeah, I love that. Just before we let you go, we know we've heard the last few days the talk about maybe a $40 fuel cap. Do you think that's a reality? Do you think that looks like it could happen? Would it be good if it did happen?
So we are not there yet. I think when we start to hear that the government is looking at the Liquid Fuel Emergency Act, then probably we would be thinking, this is a concern now. But we're not there yet. Okay. The ships are still coming. The government is putting contingency plans in place. Yesterday, they reduced the standards for the diesel we import, which means we can import lower quality diesel for a short period of time, which means, again, getting more fuel from the US and other places. So we're not there yet.
You know what? I don't know about everybody else, but I feel better after talking with you. I feel like calmer, not as panicky. You're very wise, and I feel like if you're saying it's going to be okay, I know you can't promise it, but I do feel so much better. So I'm so glad we had you on. Thank you so much, Professor Hussein Dia from Swinburne University of Technology. Thank you for your time this morning, and depending on what happens over the next couple of weeks, we might have to get you back depending on where this heads. But thank you for your time and for your positivity this morning.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.